Hey, what's up, guys? All right, so we are going to start with part two of the Scott Peterson interview with Gloria Gomez. And just a couple things that I wanted to start off with before we get into it is I am very much open to pushback about the analysis. So I love it. I think it's really important for uh, anal- uh, analysts, excuse me, to get pushback, to get challenges from uh, those who observe the analysis. So I'm very much open to that. I want to hear it. I like to hear it. When it comes to outside of the analysis, like pushback about case facts, physical evidence shows this, so therefore what you're saying doesn't make sense. It's apples and oranges. So statement analysis is it understands it seeks to understand only what the subject thinks, feels, believes, and we're on the outside, right? The public is on the outside of this circle of people who know that we're there, that whatever case it is, that experienced it, that either witnessed it, that possibly did it. We're outside of that circle and we're looking in. And statement analysis picks one of those people, whatever it is, or potentially one of those people, and seeks to understand what is it that they believe about the missing person. What is it that they believe about the victim? What is it that they trying to persuade about something? Is there something what exactly is sensitive to them? What's important to them? Things like that. And so is it DNA evidence? Is it no, it's not. It's not anything like that. So it is what it is, right? Um, and so I just think it's important to put it in its right category. And so sometimes I do see comments that or arguments that they're outside of the scope of what statement analysis does, right? So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that, you know, just kind of sets it straight to where I want to hear, Trav, these words, I don't think they mean what you think they meant, or I think you missed a logical possibility that it could also mean X. And that's really helpful, or, just whatever, right? So I'm open to it. I just wanted to clarify what the scope is and just make sure that the subject is, or the critique or whatnot is within that scope. So, there's a lot of people who will cover and do cover the physical evidence. And it's amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's so good. It's very important. And some that cover the judicial side of things or both. And I'm making no claim about that. Statement analysis, one of the major focuses that it does is it focuses on de facto guilt, right? So not legal guilt. There might be someone who a statement analyst might conclude they have guilt from a legal perspective. They've never even been tried, right? They've never even gone to trial. So legally, they're innocent. From a statement analysis perspective, de facto, which means in fact guilt, they personally carry guilt. And that's what I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in de facto guilt. I'm also interested in legal guilt. And while I do really appreciate looking at the judicial side of things and the execution of American justice in this country, and while I just think it's so important, my bread and butter is looking at the psychological reality of X person and seeking to understand what's important to them, what is not important to them, what is what are, what are their values? Who is closest to them? Who do they believe is still alive? Things like that. And also, I will say that I think that can also be very insightful to understand some physical evidence, right? Physical evidence, someone can look at, let's just say, a spill of like water and food or something, and that's the physical evidence, but it needs to be interpreted. What happened there, right? And which explanation, which theory best explains the physical evidence, and sometimes there needs to be some assumptions there, right? It's not necessarily always a perfect. There's not always a perfect theory which requires zero, you know, intellectual interpretation. So the statement analysis, the the results of it can be really nice fine tuning glasses, if you will, or a microscope to then look at the physical evidence and maybe even understand more about it. And that's my hope. My hope is that I can kind of be that whole, there's a whole entree of content creators that cover cases. You have those that focus on the judicial side, those who focus on the evidence, those who focus on the body cams, or all of the above. The history of the judges, patterns with all of that, the problems of with the cams, and what the physical evidence actually does say. Even though maybe in the court they argue that this is what it means and this is what it says, and you have some content creators who look at that evidence and go, "That's not even what it meant. Look at this. Look what they missed." Right? That's all fascinating stuff. And I am just one of those entrees that helps bring clarity to the whole situation. So that's my heart, that's my goal. And what I bring might run counter to some of other people's opinions, and maybe it runs counter to the prosecution's narrative, or maybe it runs counter to the defense's narrative, or it runs counter to both. I don't know, but my what I want to do is just do my best to be objective and just share exactly what I found, and try to just, not know much about all the conversations and the narratives and the facts and the case facts and this happened and that happened. I just want to just be kind of dumb to all that and just go, but what does this person believe? And let me share that with you, someone who doesn't know a whole lot about that. And maybe that will be very insightful to everyone else. And then obviously, once I do the analysis, then I can look at the physical, and maybe I can help make sense of things too. Um, so I just wanted to kind of get that out there. I've been talking for a long time, and I really want to get into the analysis, and I'm sure you do too. So I hope you hear my heart on that, and I hope that helps. Okay, so let's go back to the interview here and listen on. So to kind of just start us off with, kind of get us back on track here, is we left off with Scott Peterson being interrupted with a cell phone, right? And so Gloria had asked Scott about Amber Fry and why didn't he come clean earlier? And so he gave his explanation, and then the cell phone started ringing, and he went and grabbed his cell phone. And then now Scott says, "Hey, go ahead and ask your question again," and we're going to listen to what happened.
So, once again, if you can just talk about why didn't you just come forward at the time when I asked you?
Yeah, it's kind of going crazy, isn't it?
Okay, I don't know what just happened there. Here we go.
Yeah, so if you just want to ask your question again, I'll just.
So, once again, if you can just talk about why didn't you just come forward at the time when I asked you if you had a girlfriend? Why didn't you just come clean then?
Right. At that time, it wasn't appropriate to comment about because it's not relevant. And I'm glad you asked it because there were reports that I denied it. When I characterized a National Enquirer article as a pack of lies that included, unknowing to me, I knew that the article included this supposed life insurance policy bought this summer, supposed blood evidence and other strange reports, like taking the floors out of our home. And I didn't know it included, this relationship that I had. So I characterized that as a pack of lies, and that's come out as a denial, it was never intended to be. I simply approached that issue as it's not relevant, and there's no reason to comment about it. There's a reason to comment about the number. Now, I'm glad that Amber did the press conference. I'm glad that she came forward, because it allows lots of people, I believe, to start looking for Laci again, because it's slacked off because of that, because there's suspicion about me.
She claims you.
Okie dokie. Okay, and once again, if you can just talk about why didn't you just come forward at the time when I asked you if you had a girlfriend? Why didn't you just come clean then? So that was the question. So earlier, he had said, pretty much the same question. He said about the same amount of words. Okay, he talked about it wasn't appropriate, and he talks about the National Enquirer article and how he denied it as a pack of lies. He called it a pack of lies. And then this time around, he pretty much covers the same amount of stuff, except we have some new information. He talks about the National Enquirer, pack of lies. He says, it wasn't appropriate to comment. Should start there. It's not relevant. And he talks about the supposed life insurance policy again, supposed blood evidence. And then he talks about strange reports. Okay. So there are some new things that he says. And from a statement analysis perspective, this is really cool because we get to hear him get a second shot at things. And so we can see what is consistent and possibly learn some new things. So he largely rehashes what was said above. So for the sake of efficiency, let's focus on the changes from the first to the second time, which from an analysis standpoint is a great opportunity to better understand the psychological reality of the subject. So the subject has a need to persuade that at that time it wasn't appropriate to comment about it because it's not relevant. The subject focuses in on at that time, but then says something in the passive, in the present, universally, because it's not relevant. All right. So it wasn't appropriate to comment about it because it's not relevant. That's not to say, this indicates that at any time it's not relevant. The subject hardens the concern about the need to persuade this as he gives no reason as to why it's not relevant. He simply needs to be believed here. Okay. So if you're not really picking up what I'm saying, it's at that time, it wasn't appropriate because it's not relevant. Not it wasn't relevant. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at. So there's a change in tense there. Okay. The relevancy of his affair is even stronger when it comes to the missing Laci Peterson. Did Laci find out about the affair? Did she confront him? Right? These are the questions that come to mind because of how forceful he's being about this. It's not relevant. Period. End of story. Right? Was this uncovering of Scott Peterson's affair the beginning of the end for Laci Peterson? He said, I simply approach that issue as it's not relevant and there's no reason to comment about it. This is how he approached it. This indicates that thought and consideration, went behind this, which indicates that the subject did understand there was a challenge here. Okay. I simply approached that issue. So he prefaces with this. He talks about his approach rather than it's not relevant, right? He adds these extra words in here for a reason. Now, he is a golfer. Approaching the golf ball, right, is something that is often used. I've used it. This may be why he uses this terminology. Now, he minimizes with that issue. Okay. So this is another minimization. It's merely an issue. Okay. There's no reason to comment about it. More minimization. The subject in his mind saw no reason, not one, to speak about his affair. He decided to fully minimize it here. Yet it's the only way that it would be completely irrelevant. I'm sorry, yet isn't the only way that it would be completely irrelevant is if the subject and Laci had discussed this and it was completely behind them before Christmas Eve. He's not saying that. Okay. He's not saying that. I guess you could also say if she didn't know, if she had no idea about the affair and she just so happened to be missing with zero knowledge. But then you got to wonder, wouldn't the subject be questioning himself? Did she leave? Did she leave me because she found out? And instead of confronting me, she just left me. He's not saying that. Now, there's a reason to comment about the number. Now, he says this. This is really crazy. Right here. I simply approach that issue as it's not relevant and there's no reason to comment about it. Now, there's a reason to comment about the number. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what that means. The subject stops and then talks about the press conference. So we will get into that. However, what does he mean by the number? The number of times he was with Amber? He doesn't say. This fragmentation underscores sensitivity to what he was thinking about. Unfortunately, this is unknown exactly what was in his mind. The curiosity about this is strong. He continues on. Now, I'm glad that Amber did the press conference. I'm glad she came forward because it allows lots of people, I believe, to start looking for Laci again because it's slacked off because of that, because her suspicion about me. We are now confronted with a very concerning piece of information here. Amber Fry is suspicious of the subject, according to the subject. Okay. Earlier, he had talked about people being suspicious about him. And earlier, he was talking about an article with Amber Fry mentioned, no specifics. And now he's referencing something different, a press conference, underscoring his attention to the media. And he stumbles on I here, which underscores internal stress. He says that people, which is passive, will start looking for Laci again. Earlier, he had indicated that people weren't looking as much as they should. The subject has connected people slacking off with Amber Fry. Amber Fry has caused people to slack off in finding Amber Fry, according to the subject. He's attributing blame. It was an inappropriate relationship. That's all it was. But it's slacking off. The search he can't say my wife, for her. People aren't doing as much as they should. It's slacking off because of her suspicion about me. Really bad signs. I'm glad. So he says it twice that he is glad. How the subject feels about Amber Fry's press conference is sensitive to the subject. The subject, it appears, is last to speak out to the media. So we're talking about family who's come out, according to him. Not so much me, he says, but the family. And you see the raw emotions out there, right? And now Amber Fry has come out to the media. This is indicating that the subject understands that he's last. Go back to the supermarket situation. He's the last one to make that call over the supermarket about the missing child, right? I'm connecting Laci with the child. I mean, Laci was with child. I don't think it's unfair to make that analogy. The seemingly entire family and even his mistress has come out in the media before the subject regarding the missing Laci Peterson. Was this affair what he meant by privacy issue earlier? Okay, I'm thinking about, he said privacy issue. He talked about grief. And now we have Amber Fry. He began with, I mean, it was absolutely a privacy issue. Is this what he's thinking of? As all in the stew. You know, when I mean this, I'm talking about Amber Fry. So he began with, it allows us, and then he seemingly fixes it to, it allows lots of people. Well, the reason for this may be because I is included in us, which would be concerning, as that would indicate that he hasn't been looking for Laci Peterson, or maybe not as much, right? He letting it slip? It allows us. That includes him. Then he fixes it to allows lots of people, which would not include him. Now that's just general, right? Lots of people. There's a huge potential contradiction that is being communicated here. If Amber Fry came out in the press conference to communicate suspicions of the subject, then how could that be something the subject is glad about if that's the very reason in the subject's mind for why people have slacked off from looking for Laci Peterson?
You deceived her. She claims
Amber.
that, yeah.
Yes, she
claims
did
that
not know. She did not know that I was married. That is correct. And
I just want to point something out real quick. She claims you deceived her. She claimed that, Amber? This is a very interesting answer here. The subject asks for clarity, which Gigi was talking, Gigi was talking about. Oh, which she exactly was Gigi talking about? That's what I meant to say. Which she? Occam's razor is the subject is not sure if Gigi is referencing Amber Fry claiming she was deceived or Laci Peterson. He asks for clarity. This begs the question, was Amber not the only one who may have claimed that she was deceived? Just saying. Just saying.
so I'm glad she came forward. I
Started
informed her.
over.
yeah.
Yes, she
claims
did
that
not know. She did not know that I was married. That is correct. And so I'm glad she came forward. I informed her that I am married, and of Laci's disappearance shortly after, Christmas Eve. It was a couple of days after Christmas Eve. I don't know the exact date. I'm glad she did the press conference. I'm glad that's out there. It had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance.
your stomach.
Fascinating stuff. She claims you deceived her. She claimed that. Amber? Yeah. Yeah, she did not know. She did not know that I was married. That is correct. Um, and so I'm glad she came forward. I informed her that I am married and of Laci's disappearance shortly after, Christmas Eve. It was a couple of days after Christmas Eve. I don't know the exact date. I'm glad she did the press conference. I'm glad that's out there. It had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance. The answer is yeah. The subject deceived Amber Fry. The subject continues on. She did not know is repeated, which underscores the sensitivity here. Yeah, she did not know. She did not know. The subject then reiterates how he is glad about the fact that Amber Fry came forward about their relationship. This just hit me. Who did not know? Was Amber the only one that did not know? I'm just throwing it out there. Might be some cryptic words there of leakage. That's why it's sensitive to him. Might be doubly sensitive. Not because he is exposing the fact that he deceived Amber Fry, but Amber Fry might not be the only one that was deceived. I mean, I feel stupid saying that because it's obviously she wasn't the only one that was deceived. But what level of deception was going on to Laci? Did Laci die not knowing? Is Laci knowing the cause of all of this? So the subject then reiterates how he is glad about the fact that Amber Fry came forward about the relationship. This is 6 times the subject has said that he's glad about this. Now, I just want to pause, and I haven't talked about this. I don't think I write this down, but the man's wife is missing, and he is saying 6 times that he's glad. Earlier, he had a hard time talking about, he wouldn't say his own personal emotions. He said, he talked about you. He's talked so much about you and what you go through, and the range of emotions, and the raw emotions out there. And I think one of the very first times we ever got strong eye engagement with his words, with a statement, was, "I feel closer," and that was regarding going to the park alone, and it was an attempt to communicate. And now we have strong eye usage with "I'm glad." He's glad. What's his priority here? Okay. Think about that. Put yourself in his shoes and where his emotional perspective is. Would you be glad about the public finding out that you had done this to your missing wife? And not only that, but your mistress is now coming out to the public and is suspicious of yourself. Would you be glad? What would it take for you to come out to the public and say that you are glad about that? What would it take? How would you have to see the world? What kind of moral compass would you need? What kind of value system would you need in order to say that 6 times? Food for thought. Laci Peterson is missing, and the subject is glad about this. Specifically, that Amber Fry has come out. He says, "I'm glad each time." No drop pronouns here. We aren't seeing, "I'm a wreck not knowing where my Laci is. I'm scared for Laci's mental health and how my horrible decisions have led to her wanting to run away. I'm ashamed that I have deceived her." The subject says that, "I informed her that I am married, and of Laci's disappearance shortly after, Christmas Eve. It was a couple of days after Christmas Eve. I don't know the exact date." The subject has admitted to the fact that he delayed informing Amber Fry of his marriage days after Laci has gone missing. Now, he does say, "I am married" here, which is the first time. These are the words that we're looking for. He doesn't say who he's married to, however. "I informed her that I am married, and of Laci's disappearance." Now, just think about what this means and what it has to mean and what it doesn't necessarily mean. He also is saying that he informed her that he was married. Yeah. "I informed her at that time that I am married." Okay. However, okay, he doesn't say who he's married to. All right. He also is saying that he informed her that he was married. Right. Oh, you know what? I think I misspoke on this. So this is actually incorrect. Yeah. So never mind on that. He does say, "I am married." Okay. So that's good. He just doesn't say who he's married to. Okay. Now, so did he say, "Amber, I am married to Laci"? Right. He doesn't say that. He had delayed coming to the media, and excuse me, he delayed informing Amber Fry. There's a pattern here of delaying telling the truth. How long after Christmas Eve? The subject told Amber Fry he's not sure. Roughly a couple days after Christmas Eve. But that's, I mean, a couple days to me might be a couple days to someone else, right? A couple of days may be a way of minimizing the length of time, minimizing the importance of this, and or obfuscating it. He says, I don't know the exact date. This also may be obfuscation. I doubt. I'm sorry, but I doubt. He doesn't know the exact date. How could this not have weighed heavy on his conscience? It's been a day, I still haven't told her. It's been 2 days, I still haven't told her. This is in the negative. Okay, he's telling us what he doesn't know. The subject is speaking in the negative, what he doesn't know, all on his own. There was no question asked about this. Okay, so this shows anticipation of the question, indicating sensitivity. Strong internal sensitivity and possible need to persuade here that he doesn't know the date. And he's not saying, I should have told her immediately and I waited instead. I'm sorry for this. He's not saying that. Remember, he approached it as irrelevant earlier in the statement. Did he do the same with Amber Fry? Did Amber make this phone call to him? He says, I informed her. That doesn't necessarily mean I called her and I admitted it to her. This still is open to this idea that Amber confronted him. It had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance. The subject then says this all on his own. This indicates the sensitivity for the subject regarding this idea. The subject was thinking about this. Again, he simply has a need to be believed here, offering no real explanation as to how it has nothing to do with Laci's disappearance. No reasons given. He's alone. This idea is alone on an island with no support, no timetable, no explanation of, look, this is how I explain this to my wife. This is how I explain this to Amber. This is why this has nothing to do with this. This is why I'm assured. Okay. Tell us. Okay. If you're not sure about this, tell us why. He gives us no, on one road, you have, as far as I knew, Laci didn't know, and now she's missing. It might have something to do with this. She may have just left. She may have found out and left, and I'm so worried for her mental health. And I'm feeling what I've done is horrible. What I've wronged her, and I was scared to tell the public in fear that Laci would find out. Maybe she got abducted, and then there's a possibility she got abducted, and then she finds out on top of that I had been cheating on her. I didn't want that to come out. Okay, let's deal with that. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say he's not. And on the flip side, the other road is, I did tell her. I told her a week ago before Christmas Eve, and it was extremely hard on her. I promised her I would not do it again. Here's what we agreed on. We were working things through it. We're working it out, etc. And then you kind of have problems with that I'm leaving on Christmas Eve to go golfing or to go fishing. But no, we just have, it had nothing to do with Laci's disappearance. And all we have to go off is his word. Well, we've been combing through his word. Do you believe this? I have my own personal opinions, and I'm going to go through my conclusions. Let's continue on. The subject then says, all on his own. No, I already read all this. Sorry. Okay, let's go back to the interview.
Must have been turning, though, when you see her go on television and it's national. And here's this girl saying, he lied to me. He told me he was single. I mean, your stomach must have been turning.
You know what is a positive to allow us to go on to search for Laci? That's how I view it, and that's how I felt about it.
The Rocha family
I said, good,
says,
this will be done, and we can keep looking for Laci.
now you know Laci.
Your stomach must have been turning, though, when you see her go on television and it's national. And here's this girl saying he lied to me. He told me he was single. Sure. I mean, your stomach must have been turning. I like this question in a sense. I just don't like your stomach must be turning. Why do interviewers feel the need to answer the question for them? Your stomach must have been turning, right? Now, he could have parroted this. He didn't parrot it. When you saw her go on television, what did you see her? What did you understand that she was saying? Right? That's a great question. Okay, tell me more about how did that impact you? What were your thoughts about it? You don't need to contaminate. Okay, so if you're interviewing people, don't give them anything. There's no reason to, zero reason to. You don't need to build rapport with them. Ask them the questions. Let them speak. They're usually eager to speak. Whether they are lying or whether they're telling the truth, they're eager to speak. They, most of the time, right? Now, if they don't want to speak, if they say that, okay, fine. You might need to be a little crafty. I get it. Build some rapport. But you can build some rapport without contaminating the statement. Okay. So I'm just saying, all right, Scott says, you know what is a positive to allow us to go on to search for Laci? That's how I view it. And that's how I felt about it. She starts to say, the Rocha family says, he continues on. I say, good. This will be done in a week. Keep looking for Laci. The subject is very optimistic about this. Amber Fry came out to the public, told the public that Scott lied to her. Scott told her that Scott was single. He's optimistic. Earlier, he said all on his own. Now, I mean, just think about this. Here, he's optimistic. Right away in the statement, Scott has been sharing despair. That was going to find Laci. He said that. He talks about grief. He indicates going to the park is similar to what seems to me is to go in the cemetery, going to a grave. But now he's optimistic, very optimistic. Earlier he said, can't continue, he doesn't know what to do. So, yeah, this is all what I'm saying here. Why he didn't come out to the media initially, the need to focus on positive tasks. The subject is exhibiting no remorse for his actions related to the affair. So, just hypothetically, Travis, Laci, Scott is innocent. He didn't do this. Laci was abducted. So Laci is listening. Scott makes no apology to Laci. Laci is listening to Scott right now, tied up, whatever. Her husband is saying it's a positive. What does that make her feel like? What does it make her feel like to hear that she's been cheating on by Amber, or that he'd been cheating on her with Amber, right? And that Amber came forward and told the truth before he did. That Amber came out to the media before her own husband about missing Laci. If that's the case, if I'm understanding this correctly, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did come out before Amber. So here he again shows a unity with us. Okay, it allows us, which he's not explaining who us is, right? Let me fix this. In the context, it appears this would be unity with the public. He has a need to connect with the public. Meanwhile, Laci Peterson is missing. Who is Laci Peterson to the subject? Based on his own words, it isn't clear. He has not said my wife Laci up to this point. Still, this will be done in a week. There's something that gives the impression of coldness and calculation here. Why does he feel that it will be a week? He has forecasted how long it will take the public and media to digest this information. This was his prediction. Instead of his focus being on a positive task of searching for Laci, he takes time to consider out the forecast how long it will take the public to process his affair. Well, it's 2026. We're still processing this. Why would he think it would be so quick? What does that say about his psychology? He says, keep looking for Laci. Not I am looking for Laci. Not, you know what? I feel terrible about this. I feel like a really bad person that I've done this to Laci. But I'm focused on looking for her. And I can't stop looking for her. And I'm asking the public to help me. But I'm working with law enforcement. I'm working with my volunteers. I need Laci found. I just need to know that she's okay. That's the first thing. I just need to know that my wife, Laci Peterson, is okay. Please, if you know that she's okay, if you know anything about Laci, please contact. Here's how you do it. That's not what he's saying.
His family says they can no longer trust you.
Mm-hmm. That was unfair and inappropriate for me to have that relationship.
How do you feel though that
Now you know Laci's family says they can no longer trust you. That was unfair and inappropriate for me to have that relationship. And Gigi continues on, but this is important. This was not specifically a question from Gigi, at least it seems. Sensitivity indication observed with which is an informal yes, and a repeated was. The subject reiterates that. I should put that. And I should make this white. I've been trying to make this a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to see. The subject reiterates that, which is distancing, it was inappropriate, but also included a new word, unfair. This again is minimizing his actions, though. It's merely unfair. That's not moral, right? This is another opportunity to directly respond to all of this, and minimization is again what he does with it. It was unfair. I'll give you that. It was unfair. Not morally wrong. Not Scott Peterson's wife. He can't even say that she's his wife. But he talks about his affair as unfair and inappropriate. This is underscoring the psychological reality of the defensiveness of the subject. He has a great need to defend himself and minimize his actions. The subject doesn't dispute that Laci's family no longer trusts him. It appears he seemingly understands it, yet minimizes it all at the same time. He will not directly apologize and truly take account for his actions, apologize to Laci's family, and seek reconciliation. He also minimizes in the sense that he speaks of his affair as that relationship. That's also that relationship. He will not call it what it is. I cheated on my own wife, Laci Peterson. He won't say it.
the Rocha family says they can't trust you?
They're wonderful people, the Rocha family. I know that, you know, we all have love between us, and I know that we'll all keep searching for Laci. And, you know, I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it, and it's important between us. And we'll continue to search for her. We'll bring her home.
That's
That's
another
all I know
problem
to
people
say.
had.
All right. There's kind of some talking over, but let's go here. And I kind of missed a little bit. She says, "How do you feel though that you know the Rocher family says they can't trust you?" They're wonderful people, the Rocher family. I know that, you know, we all have love between us, and I know that we all will keep searching for Laci. And you know, I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it, and it's important between us. And we'll continue to search for her, and we'll bring her home. That's all I know to say. This the subject repeats there, indicating internal stress. The subject talks about Rocher family passively. They are wonderful people. This is not a personal comment, what they mean to the subject. The subject then says, I know that you know. The subject couldn't say that, I know that we all have love between us. The subject says, I know that you know we all have love between us. Those are not the same things. The subject avoids the question and doesn't discuss how it feels. How do you feel, though? I think he doesn't say it, he doesn't answer it, but I think his words give us great insight as to how he feels. This underscores the sensitivity of the question and denotes the psychological distancing from the subject to his own emotions and to Laci's family. What could be there that he doesn't want to talk about? Would they be good feelings? The subject has minimized the Roach's family's distrust towards the subject by employing, we all have love between us. Hey, they distrust you, Scott. They have love for me. No, that's not what he's saying. He says, we all have love between us. He doesn't say, I love that family. We all have love between us. Oh, we all have love between us. Almost like they'll get over it. This is a deceptive tactic. He avoids discussing his own feelings and instead speaks for everyone, right? The subject, it appears, is rather cold about this and dismissive. The subject then diverts the issue back into searching for Laci. The subject then talks about something very important, the subject's honesty towards Laci about his affair. You know, I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it, and it's important between us. Now, I believe him. I believe what he says, not what he doesn't say. So he says, you know, indicates sensitivity and internal stress with the filler and the inclusion of you here, which denotes psychological distancing from using I, and may be a form of persuasion. You know, I told Laci. That's not the same thing as I told Laci. Gigi doesn't know. As far as the statement is concerned of whether or not the subject has admitted his affair to Laci before, Gigi does not know. As far as the statement is concerned. But the subject implies it. The subject implores it. I told Laci about the relationship. Told denotes tension as opposed to said or admitted. Told has tension there. I told Laci. The subject repeats the, indicating internal stress. He's stressed out, hitched on how to say this. The subject refers to the affair as another minimized the relationship. This is so solid and consistent. It's unbelievable how solid and consistent his language is about this psychological distancing, his minimization of the affair, which indicates, oh yeah, I say it right here. The subject is not taking full account of his actions again, even when discussing an apparent prior conversation between he and Laci about his affair. Not only that, but he throws in in front of it. She knew about it. I don't even mention that. Okay, she knew about it. This is it is also psychological distancing. In the subject's mind, number one, Laci is dead, and she knew about it before she died. Number two, Laci knew about it before he told Laci about it. So Laci already knew. Number three, Laci knew about it before she went missing. Number three may be possible. If the subject believes she's alive, then Laci knows about it. These 4 words here are very, very important to understand the subject's psychological reality. Now, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, she knew about it. If she knows about it, what is he saying here? Laci knew about it before she went missing, then wouldn't she know about it? When did she know about it? Is he telling us? I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it. When? And is this him again signifying that he believes she's dead? This is not him saying she knew about it. Let me say this. I told Laci 3 days before she went missing. He doesn't say that. He does not specify when. And it's important between us. The subject says it's important between us. Is this information not important outside of us? What does he mean? How exactly is it important? What does that mean? There's a point of fact here regarding this portion of the statement. Once the subject told Laci, the subject refers to Laci as her and us only. Let's look at that. And I knew that we all will keep searching for Laci. And I told Laci about the relationship. She knew about it, and it's important between us. And we'll keep continuing to search. We'll continue to search for, and we'll bring her home. That's all I know to say. Just another point of fact here. A pattern has emerged here about how he directs many of his thoughts and statements towards ending with searching for Laci. This appears now to be an evasion technique to attempt to control the conversation and move it forward. This would normally, in some respects, be expected. Right? The focus on looking for Laci. In a sense, that's what we're looking for. The urgency of let's find her. What is she going through? Is she okay? Right? Laci's current status. But in the context of all this, it appears to be evading difficult questions. He repeats will, which indicates internal stress. Will. Okay, let's go back up and look at that. important between us, and will. In this context, he was talking about the Rocher family, and then he began speaking about Laci. The use of will is curious because he's unifying himself again with one or more others. It couldn't be Laci in this context. Is he just all of a sudden uniting with the Rocha family? Not really addressing the question, not really apologizing, but just will continue to search for her. That's all I know to say. He said this is all on his own. This indicates a sensitivity to the things he says. There's also an indication of finality here. This is the final word. I have nothing further. It's all I know to say. He doesn't know to apologize. Again, the question was about how he feels about this issue of Laci's family not trusting him, and he avoids talking about it altogether.
Big issue with a lot of Laci's family talked to me and friends saying, if Laci knew his family, big issue with.
Bring her home.
That's
That's
another
all I know
problem
to
people
say.
had a big issue with. A lot of Laci's family talked to me.
So while he was saying, that's all I know to say, Gigi was saying, that's another problem people had a big issue with, right?
And friends saying, if Laci knew that you were having an affair, she would have said something to someone. She wouldn't have kept quiet about it.
I don't know if she mentioned it to anyone or not. I did see a report in the news, an interview with a friend of ours, Lori, that indicated that she did not believe that I had told Laci. Lori also said, I know Scott, and he had nothing to do with her disappearance. And that statement to me is what's relevant. Because you could, okay, question my morals and my poor decision making. That's fine. But don't stop looking for Laci. She's out there somewhere. She shouldn't be. She should be with our family.
You mentioned.
So let's keep working to bring her home.
I know that you mentioned.
So Gigi here says that's another problem people had a big issue with with a lot of Laci. Oh my goodness. A lot of Laci's family talked to me and friends say if Laci knew that you were having an affair, she would have said something to someone. She wouldn't have kept quiet about it. I don't know if she mentioned it to anyone or not. I did see a report in the news interview with a friend of ours, Lori, that indicated that she did not believe that I told Laci. Lori also said, I know Scott and he had nothing to do with her disappearance. And that statement to me is what's relevant because you can, okay, questioning my morals and my poor decision making, that's fine. But don't stop looking for Laci. She's out there somewhere. She shouldn't be. She should be with our family. You mentioned, so let's keep working to bring her home. The subject starts with saying he doesn't know if she mentioned it to anyone or not. Well, she wasn't talking about anyone. She said specifically Laci's family and friends. He then changes course and talks about a report in the news. This is not him saying she didn't say anything to her family. This is not him saying, I told my wife Laci about the affair I had with Amber on Christmas Eve, so she may have not had enough time to tell friends or family. He avoids it. This is not him saying she had communicated to me that she was not going to tell anyone else because I came clean to her and I cut off Amber Fry. He does not explain any of this. So here's a big part here. We're going to break that down. So here we see a social introduction that indicates psychological closeness. A friend of ours, Lori. We have not yet observed my wife Laci in this statement. Also, who is ours? Is this a friend of me and my wife's? Okay. He's not saying who our is. Lori that indicated that she did not believe I told Laci. On one hand, it's good the subject is mentioning this part. It's relevant to what Gigi asked about, and it appears the subject is being humble here and not defensive. On the other hand, he doesn't say what he told Laci. Lori, that indicated that she did not believe that I told Laci. Told Laci what? He's not saying what it is. Okay. He's not confronting it. He's not talking about this clearly, denoting psychological distancing. Again, minimizing what it is. Again, his affair. Lori also said, I know Scott and he had nothing to do with her disappearance. And that statement to me is what's relevant. It is good that a friend has vouched for the subject, assuming Lori's words are properly relayed here by the subject, right? It's good that someone is defending Scott. I want to believe Scott. I want to believe he's innocent. I don't want to believe a man in California destroyed his wife and their baby. I want people to vouch for him. I want to believe him. I want to believe that he's innocent. I like to hear that someone spoke for him. The subject has appealed to Lori to say that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. He doesn't say her name. The subject has not directly denied this so far. Excuse me. So he's saying that Lori said, I know Scott and he had nothing to do with her disappearance. The first time I'm hearing this idea of Scott having nothing to do with her disappearance is not from just Scott just saying, Gloria, I have nothing to do with my wife's disappearance. He's talking about Lori, what she said. So the subject's not directly denying it so far, just noting it. Also, there may be psychological distancing here by employing her here in such a crucial denial. Okay, I mentioned that. A question looms. When did the subject tell Laci about his affair? Now, one other thing is, and I guess I don't know, maybe I was tired when I was doing this part. To me, what's relevant, to him, what's relevant is not the point of the question. What's relevant to him is that Lori is defending him, that he has nothing to do with her disappearance. Well, the question is, Laci didn't tell anyone. And Lori says she didn't believe that Laci told anyone. She didn't believe that Scott told Laci about his affair. So what's relevant to Scott is, hey, look, it's not relevant whether I told Laci or not. What's relevant is that I had nothing to do with this. Who is the concern for? The subject is concerned for Laci, concern for the truth, concern for clarifying people's concerns about him so that everyone can be freed from those, hear the truth, get more clarity from Scott so that they can go, okay, just get it all out there so people can make their own decision. And hopefully turn their attention on, all right, we've heard from Scott. He explained it. We now get better clarity. Let's go look for Laci. He's not commenting on this part. For him, it's relevant that he had nothing to do with it. That's what he wants. That's the important thing.
You mentioned.
So let's keep working to bring her home.
I know that you mentioned during the network interview that only you and Laci know your marriage.
That's correct.
Explain that.
Just as anyone's intimate relationships, it's it's between those two people. And yes, you share things with people, and some things you don't share with people.
Now, did Laci find out?
Explain that. Really good question here. You and Laci know your marriage. Explain that. Just as anyone's, intimate relationships, it's it's between those two people. And yes, you share things with people. Some things, you don't share with people. The subject avoids speaking about this in the first person. Where's I? Where is it? It's not there. Where's Laci's name? It's not there. He is talking about anyone and you and what you do. This underscores the sensitivity to the question. You and Laci know your marriage. He said that. He can't talk about it in the first person. He can't use Laci's name. He talks about anyone. You share things. You don't share with people. The use of intimate relationships likely minimizes the relationship between the subject and Laci Peterson. They weren't married. They had an intimate relationship. Not only that, but he says intimate relationships. He had 2 intimate relationships, didn't he? At least, as far as we know. This is equating his intimate relationship with Amber and his intimate relationship with Laci. Or he was talking about his intimate relationship with Amber Fry. The subject is signaling here that some things you do and don't share with people. This unavoidably brings the question to focus. Which things does he not share with people? Which thing is he not sharing now?
Things with people, and some things, you don't share with people.
Now, did Laci find out about the affair, or did you just come out and tell her?
No, I informed her about it. I don't believe she knew.
The question is a choice, not a yes or no. Did she find out about the affair? Or did you just come out and tell her? No. The subject beginning with no is an indication of sensitivity to the question. The subject says, I informed her about it. It seems like he was saying no to, did Laci find out about the affair? But it wasn't a yes or no question. The subject uses her here and not Laci, which indicates psychological distancing. Who did you inform? He won't say it. There's 2 hers possible, as far as we know. We're not sure who her is exactly. He says, I don't believe. This is an indication that he doesn't know. I don't believe she knew. Think about that. Why or how would he not know if she knew about it or not? When exactly was she told? Was she told? Assuming the subject did, in fact, tell Laci Peterson, wouldn't her immediate reaction to the information show clearly whether she knew already or not? Think about that. If she knew already, would Laci have waited for the subject to tell her? Also, knew is past tense. He doesn't believe she knew at the time of informing her. Is that what he's saying? He's not clarifying. He's not clarifying who her is. He's saying, I don't believe she knew. We don't know who she is. Did he inform her about it in the park when he attempts to communicate to her? He's not explaining himself. Also, what is it about it? What's it? What did she know about? What did she not know about? I don't believe she knew. If he cannot say it, we will not say it for him. This is unreliable, and for many reasons. I informed her. Who? It. What is that? I don't believe she knew. Think about it. What does that mean? Let's just say again, let's just say we're interpreting now. He confronted her. He admitted to her. Well, if that's the case, her immediate response would indicate whether she already knew or not. If she's shocked, Well, she didn't know about it. Is she not shocked? Well, then she'd say, I knew that. So how can he not know if she knew or not? He won't say. He's non-committal. I don't believe she knew. There's big problems with this.
Why come out? I mean, what made you say, I'm going to tell her today? What made that day the day to tell her?
Just because it was the right thing to do. And as you know, when you're not doing the right thing, it just, eats you up. You feel, sick to your stomach and you can't, function, and you have a hard time, looking at someone.
The subject asks a why question. Really good question. Why come out? I mean, what made you say I'm going to tell her today? What made that day the day to tell her? Like, why? Right? So he does explain because. So it's not noted as sensitive. It's usually noted as sensitive when the subject explains with no question asked about why. Hey, tell me about what you did yesterday. Well, I went to the park because I blah, 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 right? We note that as sensitivity. There might be a need to persuade, a concern about the park, and preemptive, an indication that the subject is preempting a question about, hey, why'd you go to the park? So it's not sensitive here because Gigi is asking. Okay, so I just want to be clear. Just indicates a comparison was going on in the subject's mind. Just because he was thinking of two or more things, something other than it was the right thing to do. Again, what was it? And after he says this, I don't know what he says. It was the right thing to do. What was it? I told Laci about the affair, the horrible, selfish affair that I had with Amber, because it was the right thing to do. He's not saying that. I don't know what it is. He's not explaining it. And after he says this, it was the right thing to do, he continues on, showing likely what the other part of just was. Okay. So think about this. This is indicating to us something else is on his mind other than because it's the right thing to do. And he continues on. And as you know, when you're not doing the right thing, it just, eats you up. You feel, sick to your stomach and you can't, function, and you have a hard time, looking at someone. He moves on to talking about what you feel and experience. He's not saying because I felt it was the right thing to do. He's not using I statements. The subject indicates psychological distancing from all this, which at this point is hardening the concerns about whether or not the subject did communicate this truth to the victim, Laci Peterson. He talks about how it eats you up. You feel sick to your stomach. You can't function. You have a hard time looking at someone. Someone is further psychological distancing from Laci Peterson. Someone is not specific. Someone's anyone. The 12 uses of you or your or here, okay? No I statements, no Laci indicates psychological distancing from his own perspective, and this may also be scripting here. The subject is not saying, I told Laci that I'd been unfaithful to her because it was the right thing to do. I was sick to my stomach about it. I couldn't look at her in her eyes. He simply cannot say this. Instead, he talks about you and what you may or may not feel or experience or do.
You mentioned it was the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
but from my understanding is that after you told Laci, you continued to see Amber. Was that also the
I
right
saw
thing to
her.
do?
Yeah. No, it was not.
Explain that.
That is the explanation. It was not the right thing to do.
We're going to break this down. You mentioned that it was the right thing to do, but from my understanding is that after you told Laci, you continued to see Amber. Was that also the? And then he says, "I saw her." Yeah. So this is kind of he answers more like right here in the question. This part was answered more like right here. So he says, I saw her. Yeah. This is not a direct question. The subject had it's not a direct answer either. The subject had just talked about doing the right thing and is now apparently admitting that after doing the right thing, he saw her. The subject does not specify who her is. There's not much explanation here, however. There was no direct question. But this was an opportunity to clear things up. He kept it very simple. It's important that the subject has not said that he told Laci Peterson about his affair and then saw Amber Fry. The only thing the subject said is, I saw her, yeah. Was that also the right thing to do? No, it was not. The extra no here indicates sensitivity to the question. The then it was not may be an indication that his no needed reinforcement. This may indicate that the subject may not fully believe that it was wrong. Also, he doesn't use the word wrong here, just that it was not. Explain that. That is the explanation. It was not the right thing to do. So now he says it. After she says, explain that. The subject reiterates what he says earlier. The indicates sensitivity to the question to explain it. The subject says that it was not the right thing to do. Is the explanation to the subject seeing Amber Fry even after informing Laci Peterson about his affair? That's the explanation. It is noted that the subject is not saying it was wrong. He is speaking about it only in the what it was not. It was not the right thing to do. So what was it? He won't say it was wrong. Still. Not only that, and I didn't even put this here, that is the explanation. There's this, there's that. This is close, that is far. Psychological distancing. It. We also have it was not the right thing to do. These are psychological distancing indications.
But you continue to do it.
Right, and it was not the right thing to do.
And then even after Laci went missing, you continued to romance this girl?
No.
She claims that you called her on the 24th and told her.
I informed Amber about Laci's disappearance and the fact that I was married.
This is really important here. And then after Laci went missing, you continued to romance this girl? No. Gigi asks a pointed question here. The subject simply says, and this is pretty pointed all right here, but you continue to do it. So there's some accusations here. Not great interviewing. What happened between you and Amber after Laci went missing? That would be a really good question. She potentially, this is why it's so tough, is romance. This is contamination here, okay? So the subject simply says no. Now Gigi contaminates the statement here, romance this girl. May not be what he did in the subject's mind, but he may have done something else that Gigi would consider romancing this girl, but not the subject. This is really important. In his own internal dictionary, maybe he didn't consider it romancing, and maybe she's not a girl to him. Maybe she's a woman. Okay. And maybe this is why. Now, I'm not interpreting. I'm just saying, I'm opening up all the possibilities here of why this no is here. We want to see strong no's, simple yeses, simplicity likely to be true. So did he deceive this girl after Laci went missing? Is that the way he would see it? I didn't continue to romance her. I deceived her. That's why he can say no. You see what I'm saying here? This is why contamination is no good. Gigi should have asked, did you tell Laci Peterson about your relationship with Amber Fry? Tell me about that. Simple as that. Did you inform your marriage? Did you talk to me about you telling Amber Fry about Laci? Talk to me about what you communicated to Amber about Laci. She claims that you called her on the 24th and told her. He interrupts her. I informed Amber about Laci's disappearance and the fact that I was married. The subject interrupted Gigi, indicating sensitivity to the claim mentioned about a phone call on the 24th, which is assumed to be December 24th, which would have been Christmas Eve, the day Laci Peterson went missing. It is noted that the subject says two major points here, with priority number one being Laci's disappearance and priority number two being the subject was married. The subject is not saying, I told Amber that Laci Peterson is my wife. That's not what he said. Another note that he has yet to say, those three things, my wife Laci Peterson. We also have an interesting contrast based on his words. I was married is a fact. Okay. The fact. Okay. I informed Amber about Laci's disappearance and the fact that I was married. Question, is the other part, Laci's disappearance, not a fact in the subject's mind? He did not say, I informed Amber about the facts of Laci's disappearance and of me and Laci's marriage. This may be leakage that he's not telling the facts about Laci's disappearance. That's not a quote. By interrupting Gigi, the subject, it seems, is avoiding some of or other information that Gigi may be wanting to ask about. So we will see if there's more to this. Finally, I was married is not clear in the sense that this could be a lie hidden in the truth. I called and told Amber I was married. Said another way, had Laci died then, then the subject called and told Amber I was married, as in, I'm no longer married. Is that what he said? I informed Amber about Laci's disappearance and the fact that I was married. Right?
On the 24th.
No, not on the 24th. I believe it was probably it was a few days after.
The subject interrupted Gloria again here. The subject up above did not attach a day to his answer, and the mentioning of one, the 24th, and two, the phone call with Amber Fry, indicate that these two pieces together were very sensitive to the subject. Here he says no twice, indicating internal stress and sensitivity here regarding the 24th, not to mention the interruption. The subject denies calling Amber on the 24th and then repeats I 3 times, underscoring internal stress. No, not on the 24th. I believe it was probably it was a few days later. The subject caveats with I believe, and caveats again with probably, and then fragments with probably and then it was a few days after. Let me bold that. It's gonna bug me. I believe it was probably it was a few days after that. That's a fragment, indicating further internal stress and sensitivity to this day and the call. The subject is non-committal and appears as obfuscating the time and day of when he had called Amber Fry to inform her about his missing wife and his marriage. Earlier, he had cited the right thing to do and then spoke about what you do, etc. It appears the subject is very selective about when and how to do the right thing.
She says that you called her on the 24th, December 24th, and told her you were with your parents in Maine. Is that
Okay.
true?
I called her and informed her about Laci's disappearance.
On the 20th.
She says that you called her on the 24th, December 24th, and told her you were with your parents in Maine. Okay. is that true? This is, I called her and informed her about Laci's disappearance. The subject said, okay, here to this, okay, about what she says. And then is that true? And we get this. It's a yes or no question. Is that true? The subject avoids answering this altogether, underscoring the sensitivity to the question and the answer to the question. It indicates it is true. If he can't deny it, I'm not going to deny it for him. The subject shows multiple indications of internal stress here with a pause and fragmentation. The subject then reiterates what he had said earlier. I called her and informed her about Laci's disappearance. This is not what Gigi asked about. Also, this time around, he says he informed her about Laci's disappearance. He's not saying two things. I called her and informed her about my wife, Laci's disappearance. And two, he dropped the marriage part this time. Earlier, he added the fact that I was married. But this time around, he doesn't say this. His refusal to deny this account from Amber Fry strongly indicates that it's likely true. If he cannot deny it, we will not deny it for him. I already said that, sorry. He is not specifying when he called and informed her of Laci's disappearance.
Her and informed her about Laci's disappearance.
On the 24th of December.
No, I did not. It was a few days after that I called her and told her I was married.
Okay.
On the 24th of December, no, I did not. It was a few days after that. I don't know if he says I. It's so fast. He may or may not have said I. If he did, it's just a touch, just barely says it. I'm not exactly sure. Called her and told her I was married. The subject repeats no, and adds I did not. The repeat indicates sensitivity and internal stress. He reiterates that it was a few days after, and then possibly drops I here. This is not clear, and says, called her and told her I was married. If he drops the I, he's not saying he called her and told her I was married. He also says her. Okay. Who? And who are you married to? Told indicates tension rather than informed or said, which have softer connotations. Questions. Married to whom? Did he tell her verbatim, I was married? I told her I was married. How long is a few days after? He's obfuscating a lot here.
She claims, let me just finish. She just claims that you called her on the 24th, told her that you were going to Maine, you were visiting your family in Maine, and then you were going to Brussels.
Gloria, I'm not going to waste what little media time we have, and in this forum, with, this is a short newscast, and I don't know how much of these words you're going to use or not, but I'm not going to waste that by defending myself or talking about irrelevant things. It's better served if we talk about what happened and where's Laci.
Okay.
So the facts are that we know that on Christmas Eve, I left the house here around 9:30. She was here in the home. Okay, that's a fact that has to get out there because it's been reported erroneously that I saw her leave the house. Okay, she was in the house. It's one thing we know. Second thing we know is that the dog was returned to our yard with its leash on at 10:30 by a neighbor. Those are two things we know about her disappearance. And hopefully those can help some people. There are things that we need to get out there are the tip lines, which is the Modesto Police Tip Line, 209-342-6166, and also 1-866-LACI info, LACI info. And that's a tip line for people who have talked to the police. Even if they talk to them, please call that tip line if you saw her that day, if you've seen her since, or if there's something you think is important in the neighborhood. We want to be very specific.
Okay.
The other big push we need is LaciPeterson.com. people can go there and print off the flyers and distribute those into every medical center and bus stop, high traffic area in the nation, because it could be the next flyer that brings her home to our family.
Oh, sorry. I was muted. Sorry. Okay, now, but she claims, let me just finish. She just claimed that you called her on the 24th, told her that you were going to Maine, you're visiting your family in Maine, and then you were going to Brussels. Was that true? Gloria, I'm not going to waste what little media time we have and in this forum with you. You know, this is a short newscast, and I don't know how much of these words you're going to use or not, but I'm not going to waste that by defending myself or talking about irrelevant things. It's better served if we talk about what had happened and where's Laci. Okay. So the facts are that we know that on Christmas Eve, I left the house here around 9:30. She was in here. She was here in the home. Okay, that's a fact. That has to get out there because it's been reported erroneously that I saw her leave the house. Okay, she was in the house. It's the one thing we know. Second thing we know is that the dog was returned to our yard with its leash on at 10:30 by a neighbor. Those are two things we know about her disappearance. And hopefully this can help some people. There are things that we need to get out there are the tip lines, which is okay, and he goes through all of that and the flyers and whatnot. Okay. Tip lines, here's the number, Laci info, LACI info, and that's the tip line for people who have talked to the police. For people who have talked to the police, even if they've talked to them, please call that tip line. If you saw her that day, if you've seen her since, or there's something you think is important in the neighborhood, will all be very specific. Okay. The other big push that we need is LaciPeterson.com. People go there and print off the flyers and distribute those in every medical center and bus stop, high traffic area in the nation, because it could be the next flyer that brings her home to our family. The subject says a lot here. One of the obvious challenges here is that the subject does not simply answer the question. Simply does not answer the question. The question is therefore very sensitive to the subject, and the question is a heavy one, and the subject's answer could clear up a lot of suspicions that the subject mentioned before. Earlier, he said he was glad that Amber came forward. He said that many times. He said that he was looking at it as a positive because it would be done in a week, and he connected Amber coming forward and all of this with it ultimately allowing people to be able to look for Laci again. After all, he said that he stepped up in the media because of the suspicions from Amber. So this question is apparently, based on his own words in this statement, to be the heart of why he's coming out to the media. It appears now that this was not true. His claim that it's because the suspicions of Amber that he's coming out, because the suspicions from Amber have slowed or stopped the process of finding Laci. He doesn't want to answer it. So the subject is not denying Gigi's claim from Amber Fry. He's not denying. He's not saying you got the facts wrong. That's not what Amber said. He's not saying that. He's not saying Amber is lying. I did not do that. I did not say those things to Amber on that day. He can't say it. It's important to note that innocent people are quick to deny anything that's not true. There is psychologically a strong need in the innocent to be very clear about what is true and what is not true, to delineate what they know versus what they don't know, what they did do versus what they didn't do. The need here to not answer this question is glaring, to say the least. The subject could say simply, that's not true, or that did not happen, or I did not say those things to Amber Fry. So here's what he says here. The subject infers that Gigi will only pick and choose what words the subject will say, implying The GG may not represent the interview with integrity. If the subject had concerns about the integrity of GG, then why would he allow this interview in the first place? Another major piece of this is that the subject signals two things when it comes to wasting time. Number one, defending himself. Number two, talking about irrelevant things. Defending himself is not what is being hoped for, but merely clearing up the facts. The psychological reality of the subject is clarified by these words. He's not denying these claims. He doesn't believe they are not true. Said another way, he believes they are true. He believes he would merely need to defend himself as to why he did what he did. And he doesn't want to defend himself, apparently. Embedded in this, he doesn't want to admit wrongs he did do. That's not a possibility for him. So far, nothing about what has been talked about appears to be irrelevant from a third party perspective. I mean, you tell me, is this stuff irrelevant? The subject views them as irrelevant, which is hardening the observation, it is hardening of the observed need to minimize what objectively is crucial information and again contradict his own words. This is likely to be a deceptive tactic to simply avoid talking about things that he doesn't want to talk about. Okay, so we're going to talk about all this. It's better served if we talk about what happened. Where's Laci? Okay, so he talks about the facts that need to get out there here. These are the two facts. The subject begins here with wanting to focus on what happened and where's Laci. GG was just asking him about what happened on the 24th. Would that not qualify as what happened? Okay, it's better served if we talk about what happened. To the subject, what happened on the 24th doesn't fit this criteria. What happened is limited in scope for the subject. So the facts are that we know. The subject speaks about what the facts are that we know, which is psychological distancing from his own knowledge. It brings to question, who is we? And there is also an eagerness to hear what all the facts are in the subject's mind. We're all wanting to know. On Christmas Eve, I left the house here around 9:30. She was here in the home. There's a change of language here. What changed about the house to where it was a home? When he left, it appears it was the house. When she was here, it was home. The subject may have leaked that no one was in the house when he left. It was just a house. Before, when Laci was in it, it was the home. Okay, that's a fact that has to get out there because it's been reported erroneously that I saw her leave the house. This is a fact. No, it's a fact that has to get out there. The truth is perfect all on its own. It needs no persuasion. Why does it have to get out there according to the subject? He is saying that he didn't see her leave the house. Note, even here, hypothetically, Laci leaving turns the home into the house in the subject's mind. That I saw her leave the house. Well, if she had left, then it's no longer a home, it's a house. Okay, she was in the house. It's one thing we know. Second thing we know is that the dog was returned to our yard with its leash on at 10:30 by a neighbor. Those are two things we know about her disappearance. The subject had just said that it's erroneous that he saw her leave the house. Now the subject says, okay, she was in the house. It's one thing we know. We have another change from home to house. Earlier, she was here in the home, and now she was in the house. It's one thing we know. So we have another change of language. Note that he doesn't say, when I left, she was here. It's one thing we know. When he left, it was a house. It could be that one thing we know changed to she was in the house. It could be that when she was in the home, she's alive, and now she's in the house. She's not living. This would make sense of the relative changes in language here. Also, it is noted that we are not seeing our home or our house, but instead the depersonalized the home, the home, which indicates psychological distancing from this location. And I just thought of this. We have some persuasion. Okay, she was in the house. It's one thing we know. It might be she being in the house is persuasive and inconsistent with his beliefs because based on the context, she was in the home At first she was in the home and now she's in the house. So that might be why too. Second thing we know is that the dog was returned to our yard with its leash on at 10:30 by a neighbor. Those are two things we know about her disappearance. Again, we have a we know. The dog may indicate psychological distancing from the dog, as it is not my dog or our dog Scruffy. It appears that to the subject, the facts that are most crucial regarding Laci Peterson's disappearance are two total facts. Okay, number one, he left at 9:30 and she was alive at their house, and two, the dog was returned at 10:30. The impression from this is that the subject has a need to, from a priority aspect, indicate that one, the subject is innocent, and two, she must have taken the dog out on a walk. Given that the subject is avoiding a very important accusation, well, a number of them, but this is very likely scripting. Don't focus on me. I didn't do this. Don't focus on what I said to Amber on the day Laci went missing. Instead of explaining why, he is merely needing to be believed here. These things need to get out there as opposed to those things. The subject has a need to control the information. And hopefully this can help some people. There are things that we need to get out there. The hope is that helps some people. What about helping Laci Peterson? Some people is passive, unspecific. Who needs to get this out there? We do. Where? Out there. What is out there is very sensitive to the subject. The subject is very sensitive to the public's perception. There's an embedded expectation that assuming the subject's innocence, that finding Laci, her current status, what she's going through, if she is safe or not, if she's okay, these things are chiefly on the subject's mind, and everything else is in the background. That's the expectation. The concern for self is the concerning thing. If you saw her that day, if you've seen her since, or there's something you think is important in the neighborhood, will all be very specific. There are two ideas that are delineated in the subject's mind: that day and since. That day indicates psychological distancing. Which day? Not this day, that day. Not only that, but Christmas Eve, the subject records, he's not saying that. He's just saying that day. The subject records it as that day. He's not saying, if you've seen Laci Peterson, contact the tip line. There's a separation between that day and all other days since. Why? Think about it. Also, he includes, there's something you think important in the neighborhood, which is ambiguous. Does he mean unrelated to Laci's information? Will all be very specific. Well, he's not specific. Hey, this is also a tip line, if you just think there's something important in the neighborhood, right? Something unrelated to Laci Peterson. We'll all be very specific here. I'm a good guy. I mean, man, even if it doesn't have anything to do with Laci Peterson, this is the tip line. If you think someone stole something, this is while the subject does not want to talk about irrelevant things like what he called and told his mistress on the day of Laci's disappearance. He doesn't want to be specific about that stuff, but specific neighborhood things that you think are important. Be specific about that. The other big push that we need is Laci Peterson, the flyers, and distribute those in every medical center, the nation, because it could be the next flyer that brings her home. The subject then talks about Laci's website to print out flyers and distribute them across the nation. The concerning words here are the other big push. He uses the word other, then big push. Was there a big push? Was there a big push at Peterson residence on the 24th? Was there a big push off a boat out in the ocean? This may be leakage. Example, contrary to rumors floating around out there, this is something Peter Hyatt talked about in a case with baby Ayla. Dad and a mom were divorced, separated, whatever. They had a baby. It's a real case. Baby Ayla went missing. And the dad would not come out to the media. And then the mom went out to the media. She had already been out in the media, and then she publicly shamed him for not coming out to the media. He comes out to the media in response, and he says, contrary to rumors floating around out there. And come to find out, after he said this, baby Ayla was found in water. This was leakage, likely. Then Peter determined this was leakage that he knew, and he had guilty knowledge about her death. Baby Ayla. He was thinking about her, and he said floating. Okay, so big push. Is this a similar scenario here? Brings her home to our family. The subject doesn't say brings her home to me. So psychological distancing here. That could be the next flyer that brings her home to me. Okay, to our family is what he said.
I know more than I know that you want to find Laci, and the second thing you want to do is clear yourself from suspicion, correct? I mean, that is, you want the focus back on Laci and not on you.
I want people looking for Laci because they're not doing that right now. And that's why I'm sitting down with you in hopes that people will go, you know what? If I think he had some involvement, if I don't think he had some involvement, that doesn't matter because Laci is what matters. And she's out there missing and she needs to be home with her families. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. You know, as I've said, question my moral character if you want to. But look at your heart. Think of Laci, her picture, baby, and make the effort to bring her home. And that's a simple reality. That's a simple thing we need to do. Just, think whatever you want of me. As long as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing to find Laci and bring her home.
I know.
The question, I mean, this is what you want, the focus back on Laci, not you. The question echoes something he said earlier. He has directly connected suspicions of the subject with the hindered search of Laci Peterson. He said, I'm glad she came forward because it allows lots of people, I believe, to start looking for Laci again because it's slacked off because of that, because her suspicion of me. The subject focuses on the looking for Laci, avoiding the question, indicating the sensitivity for the subject regarding clearing himself of suspicion. So she tries again here. And it makes a lot of sense, actually. Hey, you want Laci found, number one. Number two, you want to clear yourself from suspicion to free this up. The intention to find Laci is expected. So in that sense alone, that's good. However, this was an opportunity to say, I want Laci found. That's the ideal priority, right? The subject is not saying that here. The subject says, I want people looking for Laci. Why does he want people looking for Laci? Because they're not doing that right now. The expectation would be because I want Laci found. And that's why I'm sitting now with you in hopes that people will go, what if I think he had some involvement? If I don't think he had some involvement, that doesn't matter. The subject says sitting, which indicates tension, body posture. Okay. Body posture in a statement in the free editing process, it indicates tension. Okay. Me and my wife watched a movie versus me and my wife sat and watched a movie. One doesn't indicate tension, the other indicates tension. My boss taught me to build rapport with our clients versus my boss stood there and told me about building rapport with my clients. Stood indicates tension. That was an intense conversation. The brain captures it as a tense conversation or a not intense conversation, and the brain will relay it as tense or not tense. Now, the subject is in hopes that even if they think the subject is involved or not, that either way, it doesn't matter. Instead of addressing the concerns about the subject's hope is that people will think it doesn't matter. This is not a denial. This is not an explanation. This is an attempt to minimize the concerns of the public about the subject's actions regarding potential involvement in the disappearance of Laci Peterson. All the subject has to say is, I had no involvement in the disappearance of my wife, Laci Peterson. He cannot say this. The innocent makes no quarter for possibilities that they are guilty. This is what is so concerning about this. Did you steal the car? Did you steal your neighbor's car? Well, even if you think I did, right? We need to look for the car. That's not what we say. No, no, no. I didn't steal the car. Do you understand? I didn't steal it. The innocent makes no quarter for possibilities that they are guilty. We're not okay with that. No, it's not possible I stole the car. I didn't steal the car. Because Laci is what matters, and she's out there missing, and she needs to be home with her families. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. As I've said, question my moral character if you want to. Laci is what matters. This is good. However, he's not saying my wife, Laci Peterson, is what matters. Finding my wife, Laci Peterson, is what matters. Also, he continues saying, and she's out there missing, and she needs to be home with her families. She needs to be home. This is something that a father says about their daughter. This is something I say about my daughter. She needs to be home. The subject is not saying, I need Laci to come home. The subject is speaking for Laci, what she needs. What is Laci experiencing right now? What does Laci need right now? Is my wife and baby okay? Laci, please let me know where you are and that you're okay. Also, the subject says her families. The subject is avoiding I or my. This is psychological distancing from himself. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. As I've said, question my moral character if you want to. The subject has not shown little to no remorse, the subject has shown little to no remorse or regret and doesn't care about the public's judgment. It appears that instead of explaining himself and sifting through the concerns, he'd rather dismiss the public's concerns as unimportant, as he doesn't care about them. The subject is okay with questioning his moral character. He doesn't care about defending himself. This kind of dismissiveness and minimization is likely what Laci dealt with. He alludes to the idea that his moral character could be in question, and yet he has no intentions to apologize or humbly accept responsibility. Again, the innocent make no quarter for possibilities that they were involved. But look at your heart. Think of Laci, her picture. But here indicates refuting or minimizing what was just said before it, questioning his moral character. The subject tells what appears to be the public to look at their heart. The subject exhibits persuasion here. Please help me find my wife is not what the subject's saying. You need to think of Laci, her picture, baby. The subject does not say our baby, my baby, or even her baby, but simply baby. This is psychological distancing from pregnant Laci and Laci's baby. The mention of her picture is noteworthy. Assuming the subject's innocence, the picture of Laci would be the focus only to serve as a help guide for anyone who has seen her, to help identify her. The subject saying, think of her picture, may be psychological distancing from Laci and possible leakage that the subject believes the only thing left of Laci is pictures of her being alive. The subject may be exploiting the picture of Laci Peterson to attempt to persuade the public. When I see look at your heart, think of the children, there's this persuasion. Look at your heart, find it in you to care and make the effort to bring her home. And that's the simple reality. That's a simple thing we need to do. This sounds hopeless. Why? The subject focuses on and make the effort to bring her home. The subject repeats that's, indicating internal stress. That's. The simple reality is to make the effort. A simple thing we need to do. We all just need to make the effort. It signals that we need to go through the motion here. The subject includes himself in this, denoting psychological distancing from his own feelings and thoughts, and denotes a need to connect with the public. Again, the problem is he is attempting to connect with the public and at the same time minimizing potential concerns or questions. I would say obvious concerns or questions. I'm being really nice here. Potential concerns. The subject has also shown a need throughout this statement to tell the public what they should or need to do. What kind of psychological reality are we dealing with here? Hey, I don't care what you think, but this is what you need to do. I mean, this is the signal we're getting here from the subject. Just, think whatever you want of me, as long as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself and that you're doing what you need to be doing to find Laci and bring her home. Just indicates that the subject is comparing two or more ideas here. Is filler, indicating sensitivity and internal stress and psychological distancing from his own perceptions or experiences. The subject reiterates that people can think whatever they want of the subject if they are comfortable with themselves and they are doing what they need to be doing to find Laci. The subject might be deflecting the judgment from people back to people here. Hey, you can judge me, but I'm judging you. As long as you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing. The subject is indicating that he is judging the public. Again, the focus appears to be on the tasks and less on the finding of Laci. The end, the means rather than the end. Please help me bring Laci home. This is not what the subject is saying. Instead, the subject is saying, as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing.
I know that law enforcement officials have told me that you won't take a lie detector test, that you've wavered back and forth on that. Why?
Well, let me say this about the investigation. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30 when the dog was returned here. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about times, about conversations I have with the police, about the possible polygraph, test if I've taken it or I've not, and other, things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment
On why you're
about
not going
those
to take
things.
it?
I know that law enforcement officials have told me that you won't take a lie detector test, that you've wavered back and forth on that. Why? Well, let me say this about the investigation. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30, when the dog was returned here. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about times and about conversations I have with the police about the possible polygraph, test if I've taken it or I've not, and there, things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment about those things. The subject prefaces with, well, let me say this about the investigation. The subject perceives this as an investigation. Why would the subject believe this is an investigation? This may be leakage of the subject's view of law enforcement and that the subject believes Laci Peterson is dead. The subject from a high elevation would think of this as a missing person. Is she at an old friend's house? Did she run away? Is she in a hotel? Gigi asked about the lie detector test and why he had wavered on it, why he hasn't taken it. The subject focuses on the investigation. The premise with, well, let me say this, is filler and denotes sensitivity to the question and signals defense. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30, when the dog was returned here. Indicates a pause, indicating sensitivity. I gave you. This may signal that in the subject's mind, the subject was charitable. He gave GG's these 2 times. He didn't have to do that. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about the times, about conversations I have with the police, about the possible polygraph, test, if I've taken it or I've not. The subject signals that he's following the rules. He's honoring law enforcement. However, the problem is that the subject's not answering the question. Laci was merely missing at this point. This was not a murder case at this point. This was a missing persons case. As far as the public and supposedly the subject knew, Laci very well could be alive and well. He's been asked to not comment anymore. If he has been asked, why? The subject indicates multiple indications of sensitivity to times and conversations with police and the possible polygraph test. The subject has an here before possible polygraph test, and then not possible polygraph, and then says, test. And there, things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment about those things. The subject indicates more sensitivity with and another and talks more about the investigation again. The subject indicates that if he talked any more about times and or conversations he had with police and or whether he took the polygraph or not, the investigation may not be clear. Why would that be?
I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken. I'm not going to comment. Simply not going to congregation so that and other things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment
On why you
about
have to
those
take
things.
it?
I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken a polygraph with the police.
About why you haven't taken it? I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken a polygraph with the police. The subject, I'm, and the police could not be further away from each other in this phrase. I, police. With denotes distancing when separation of two entities. The subject added the police in there, as Gigi had not mentioned the police.
Life insurance policy. Why take one out on Laci? $250,000.
We have life insurance policies in place that were established when we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently, as has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well.
The life insurance policy, why take one out on Laci, 250 grand? We have life insurance policies in place that were established when we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently, as has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well. The subject was asked why the subject took out a life insurance policy on Laci. I have a life insurance policy on my wife, Laci, because losing Laci would be absolutely devastating. And my hope is that Laci is okay and that me and Laci will grow old together. That's not what the subject said. The subject says we have life insurance policies in place. This indicates that both had life insurance policies that were established. The subject shows psychological distancing in passive words. They were established. I didn't take out a life insurance policy. They were established, right? Psychological distancing. When we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago, the subject is not talking about why. The question was why? Why take one out? The subject is talking about when. The subject says that you're in right now, signals intensity and potential defensiveness. Gigi knows that she's in the Peterson residence. Also, the subject doesn't say, we are in right now. He is singling out Gigi by saying this. It signals the possibility that Gigi has offended the subject in his own house. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently. The subject is again talking about when, specifically when it was not taken out. As has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well. The subject has responded to an article that Gigi hasn't asked about or referenced, indicating further sensitivity to the question, as the subject is not answering why he took out an insurance policy on Laci. The subject again signals that the subject has been paying close attention to media. Though he hasn't before had a media appearance, he has been observing it. The hope is that the subject has been too focused on finding Laci Peterson, working with law enforcement and organizations to be too wrapped up in that, to be wrapped up in the discourse of media. The subject is indicating anger, frustration with the National Enquirer specifically, underscoring the subject's sensitivity related to life insurance.
I know that a neighbor saw you removing things on the 24th. You mentioned this morning that it was umbrellas.
Yeah, we have some large umbrellas for the backyard pool area. Market umbrellas, I think, is the term for them.
Gigi is not necessarily asking a direct question, it appears here. You mentioned this morning that it was umbrellas. The subject says, yeah. He could have just said, yeah. I know that a neighbor saw you removing things on the 24th. You mentioned this morning that it was umbrellas. He continues on. We're listening very closely, as this all may be unnecessary information, and he may have a need to persuade here. We have some large umbrellas. The subject says some, which is unspecific. The subject then says large, which we need to understand why he explains how big they are. Why is he explaining the size of the umbrellas? Why is that sensitive to the subject? For the backyard pool area, the subject here explains their purpose. Why is their purpose sensitive to the subject? The subject notices their size and their purpose all on his own. He also explains the exact term for them. Market umbrellas, I think, is the term for them. The size, purpose, and correct term for the umbrellas is sensitive to the subject. Why would these aspects of umbrellas be sensitive to the subject? So, I'm just going to talk for a minute about this. I looked at that and I'm going, what is going on with these umbrellas? Why is he talking about she didn't even ask him about him. She just asked about a neighbor. And it was a yes or no question. So there was that. Then he says yeah, but he continues on. So I'm listening really hard. Then he talks about three aspects about the umbrellas. What is going on? So I cheated at this point. I kept going. I was analyzing, but it was in the back of my head. I'm like, what's going on? And so not much further down the analysis, I Googled it. Was the umbrellas significant in the Laci Peterson case? And it said that law enforcement was concerned that he used the umbrellas to hide her body and transport her body in the bed of his truck. So there's a case fact that I know, at least there was a concern about it. I have a concern about it. There's a lot of sensitivity about these umbrellas. I shared this concern that law enforcement had. Oh, let's go back to him.
Why would you store those in the winter?
It started to rain, so I was going to store them. Just like you asked, why would I store them? I was taking them from the pool to store.
I think he's starting to give himself away here, guys. Why would you store those in the winter? It started to rain. Okay. Why would you store them? It started to rain. So this is his explanation. Now he's explaining his explanation. So I was going to store them. Just like you asked, why would I store them? I was taking them from the pool to store. The subject has said, I was going to store them. This indicates intentionality in the past tense. The subject doesn't actually answer the question. It started to rain, okay. But Gigi asked, why would he store them? The subject says, I was going to store them. That means he didn't store them. He avoids the question as to why he stored them. He further reiterates it with, I was taking them from the pool to store. That's not the same thing as I took them from the pool and I stored them. To store. The question here is, okay, so you were taking them from the pool to store, then what happened? Also, aren't umbrellas for the rain? It started to rain.
Officials of mine have told me, sources have mentioned to me that there were cement bags that were in the storage area, and apparently a few of them were empty.
Sure.
Explain that.
Well, I could take you out in the backyard and show you all the cement work and brickwork that we've done to this home. You'd find, cement bags around here.
Okay, we're going to listen to this nice and slow. So I'm going to slow this down here and listen to this. What is his last word here? You tell me.
Well, I could take you out in the backyard and show you all the cement work and brickwork that we've done to this home. You'd find, cement bags around here.
Cement bags around her. I'm going to listen to it one more time.
Out in the backyard and show you all the cement work and brickwork that we've done to this home. You'd find, cement bags around here.
So,
Cement bags around her. Officials of mine have told me, sources had mentioned to me that there were cement bags that were in the storage area, and apparently a few of them were empty. Sure. Explain that. Well, I could take you out in the backyard and show you all the cement work and brickwork that we'd done to this home, and you'd find, cement bags around her. The subject begins with well, which indicates sensitivity to the question. I could take you out in the backyard. The subject could simply say, that cement was used for blank. Instead, the subject signals defense. The subject uses what may be leakage of what in fact did happen. Did the subject take out Laci Peterson in the backyard? I mean, look at this. Well, I could take you out in the backyard. That sounds defensive. That sounds intense. You want to go out in the backyard, right? And show you all the cement work and brickwork that we've done to this home. This is not a direct answer to the question. Gigi did not ask about all the cement work and brickwork they've done to the home. This indicates further that the question itself is sensitive to the subject. And you'd find, cement bags around her. The subject may have accidentally said what happened. He put cement bags around her. It sounds fairly clearly like he says her. And it seems like he meant here, but we don't interpret. The brain knows what it knows. This may be what some call a Freudian slip. It's noted that Gigi was asked about empty cement bags. The subject doesn't say you'd find empty cement bags around her. He doesn't talk about empty cement bags. He says cement bags. The umbrellas and the cement or cement bags are very concerning pieces to the disappearance of Laci Peterson. There's an expectation that the subject would be at a very high stress level at this point due to the slip up, and we will see what he says next with that in mind. And we're actually going to stop right there. So I'm going to leave you on the cliffhanger. Wow. I do know that there's actually someone in the comments that said this, but my wife had actually talked about this too, that there were conversations or analysis or research about the movement of the ocean or something, and like where apparently her body was put. And I don't know much about that, but all I know is that there's questions about whether she was put in there all by herself, or where she was put and where the body was found, something like that. I think this helps. I think this helps a lot understand what happened. So I'm going to let you decide on that. I'm going to come up with my own conclusions. But wow, very fascinating. So we have part 3 after this. We got about 10 more pages of analysis, and we will be done with the interview. And we'll go from there. Okay. So God bless you, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.